Hello, everybody. Today, with you, we will talk again about this law, the Vanessa Law, who passed in 2023. It is the Bill C-47, and this law targets the freedom to get access to natural health products. We are honored to be with Mr. Sean Buckley, President of the NHPPA, Natural Health Protection Association, who is on a tour all around Canada right now. It started on the 4th of October, and on the 25th of October, it will be, so Saturday, it will be bringing 152,000 signatures that you prepared to have a voice for that cause. It will be in Ottawa, and it will also, at the same time, present his Charter of Health. This chart needs to be explained today by him. It is a very nice project he is working on since many, many years. We invited him to talk today deeply about this chart because it is in our heart that we want to support his project. The regulation was really mixed for the Canadian because Quebec people and the Canadian doesn't really get what it is about this chart. So, hello, Mr. Buckley. How are you today?
I'm well and pleased to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. Can you refresh us first about this Vanessa Law? What impact it can have on the future of any therapist who work with natural health product, please?
Okay, so I'll just back up a little, back to 2008. So what happened is the first indication that there was a problem was, I think it was a deputy minister. I think her name was Nina Ballantyne. If I picked the wrong person, I apologize. But there's a video online where she's at a university trying to recruit people to join Health Canada as inspectors. And she says, we've got this new piece of legislation coming, and it's for natural health products. Now, this is important. So she said it's for natural health products. And then very shortly after, the Harper government introduces Bill C-51, which is introducing this new category called therapeutic products. And it had really high fines. So the fines before that per offense were a maximum of $5,000. Well, now all of a sudden they go up to $5 million per day. And Health Canada was given really too much power without any court supervision. It's staggering how much power that they were being given under this bill. Well, everyone organizes to resist this, and we do successfully resist it. So an election is called, the bill dies in the House, and Harper's reelected, but they don't dare reintroduce this piece of legislation because it was so politically unpopular with Canadians. So now years go by, and in 2014, we have a Liberal government. Well, they introduced basically the exact same bill, except this time it doesn't include natural health products. Now, remember, the original intention was for it to go after natural health products. The original intention was to give Health Canada the penalties and the powers necessary to scare us all into submission. But they're introducing it as Vanessa's Law in 2014. They're using Terrence Young's daughter's story as the narrative as to why we need this. And Terrence Young's daughter died of a pharmaceutical drug that was being taken just to treat acne. She's a teenager. She's taking this pharmaceutical drug and she dies. It's a tragic story. And Terrence Young has become a champion on trying to bring some accountability to pharmaceuticals. Unfortunately, his story was used to bring in this therapeutic product category. And we had said at the time, this is a Trojan horse bill, meaning that all they have to do is change the definition and it's going to apply to natural health products. Understanding the intention all along was to go after natural health products. You don't see Pfizer and Apotex and other pharmaceutical companies charged at all. Have they ever been charged under the Food and Drug Act with offenses? There's the odd time that there's settlements, civil settlements in court, But I'm not aware of a pharmaceutical company ever actually being charged. But I'm sure aware of natural health product companies being charged, because in my 30 years of being a lawyer, I've been in court time after time after time defending them against Health Canada. So that's interesting, isn't it? Chemical pharmaceutical drugs, the NHPPA right now, we have a online health show being broadcast until the 25th of October. It's running for 3 weeks. It's going to be posted online, so if you missed it, you can still watch it. Well, one of our speakers is Professor Alan Castles, and he reminds us that the third leading cause of death in Canada, the third leading cause of death, are chemical drugs taken as directed. And that's not just the prescription ones, that's the over-the-counter ones also. So chemical drugs taken as directed are our third leading cause of death in Canada. They play a big part in another one of our top 10 leading causes of death, and that is highly preventable medical accidents. So one of the most dangerous things we can possibly do is to take chemical drugs. You would think if anyone's going to be charged for violating the Food and Drug Act and regulations, which happens regularly, it would be chemical pharmaceutical companies. Professor Castles talks about the Vioxx scandal, where basically Vioxx, I mean, it should have never been approved, in my opinion. And long before it was taken off the market, Health Canada should have forced it off the market. The signals that people were dying from Vioxx were way too strong. In my opinion, Health Canada committed either culpable homicide or criminal negligence causing death. But no way will they ever be investigated, and no way will a pharmaceutical company be investigated by them and charged under the Food and Drug Act. It's never happened in my lifetime, and it will never happen in anyone's lifetime watching this, because Health Canada has become the enforcement arm for the pharmaceutical companies. You know, I was counsel on a case where Health Canada was prosecuting a natural health product company called True Hope. And True Hope has a product, it's a vitamin mineral supplement that treats bipolar disorder, like so serious bipolar disorder. And there's a whole bunch of people that are only alive because of it. And Health Canada restricted it for a short period of time. And the court acquitted them. The court said, yeah, you were selling without a license, but it was legally necessary for you to defy Health Canada, or there would have been more deaths. Health Canada caused a number of deaths by restricting access to that product. And they knew they were going to cause deaths before they caused deaths. They knew they were causing deaths while they were causing deaths. And in my opinion, a whole bunch of them should be in jail for culpable homicide and or criminal negligence causing death. But was there ever an investigation, even after the court found as a fact that Health Canada caused deaths? No, because we don't have the rule of law in Canada. If our government officials and our government are not held accountable for the same laws that we're held accountable, then we no longer have rule of law. And we definitely don't have rule of law in the area of drug regulation. But back to Vanessa's law, back to your original question. So this was brought in 2014, these really high penalties and these overkill powers, but they didn't apply to natural health products. And when they brought the bill in, they lied publicly and said, well, they don't apply to natural health products because they shouldn't apply, because they're such low risk, it's not necessary for us to do this, even though we all know they were drafted with the intention of only applying to natural health products. So fast forward to 2023, the federal budget. So in the federal budget bill, now, just so your viewers understand, I mean, I don't know how much the federal government spends every year. Like, is it a trillion? Is it measured in the trillions? Is it just measured in the hundreds of billions? I don't even know. But it's a large sum of money. And so they come out with a budget saying we're going to spend all this money. Well, they need the legal structure to do that. So if there's programs that already exist, they'll tweak them, they'll change them so that, you know, they can spend the way they want. Sometimes they have to create new programs. And budget bills tend to be like really thick, like they're long, because, hey, here's how we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars or trillions of dollars this year. You don't put changes, fundamental changes into your food and drug safety regulation in a budget bill, because budget bills pass quickly and they're dealt with by the finance committee that has no expertise in safety. But Health Canada, knowing that the public would just totally resist making these therapeutic product provisions apply to natural health products, they snuck them into the budget bill. And the bill passed quickly, as budget bills do. And so before any of us knew it, now natural health products are subject to these big penalties. So, you know, we just had Annie Genot, you know, the Court of Appeal in Quebec reaffirmed her conviction as a naturopathic doctor, because in Quebec, there's a law that gives doctors a medical monopoly. It says only doctors can practice medicine, and it defines the practice of medicine so broadly that it includes making diagnoses and making recommendations. Well, do this, do this, do this, do this. Now, the court in convicting Annie Genot was not saying that she wasn't well trained, was not saying that she wasn't helping people who were suffering terribly, was not even saying that she's saving lives, because likely as a naturopathic doctor, she was saving lives. If you watch this online health show, which is, we are broadcasting 2 days in French, but it is primarily in English, you will see story after story after story where, you know, ordinary people are sharing that they're only alive or they were completely disabled in the medical system, and then they found hope, usually through naturopathic doctors and healing. So the issue with Annie Genot in Quebec was not that she wasn't helping people. It was she wasn't a doctor, and the law is that only medical doctors can diagnose and make recommendations and treat. So she's facing sentencing now in, you know, in Quebec. Well, she also could be subject to violations under the Food and Drug Act. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, Health Canada likely could go after her for violating the Food and Drug Act. Like Dollars to Donuts, she's made truthful claims. And we're not allowed to make truthful claims. Perhaps we should talk about censorship next. So anyway, now we're all subject to these fines. So it used to be, prior to the 2023 budget, that if a natural health product manufacturer or a natural health practitioner violated the Food and Drug Act, that they would be subject to a maximum $5,000 fine per offense. So let's say a naturopathic doctor truthfully advertised for a month, they ran an ad for a month that they're giving intravenous IV treatments to help treat cancer. 100% truthful claim, intravenous vitamin C helps treat a lot of cancers. That would be a completely, everyone would agree at the end of the day that's a true statement if you look into it. But it's illegal to say anything like that in Canada, because intravenous IV is not approved by Health Canada to treat cancer. So that's an illegal claim. So before this 2023 budget, the naturopathic doctor, if charged by Health Canada, would be subject to a $5,000 a day fine, because it's one offense. You've run an ad for 30 days. But now, under this new legislation that applies, it would be a $5 million per day offense. So $5 million times 30. You know, even a fraction of that, no natural health practitioner could resist that. No natural health product company could survive these penalties. And yet $5 million is pocket change for a large company like Pfizer. So, you know, if you actually wanted a fine structure, it would be a percentage of your, you know, gross or something like that, so that there would be meaningful penalties for pharmaceutical companies. But then, of course, they're never, ever charged, ever. So why do we even pretend that they're subject to the law? Because if you don't enforce the law, then they're not subject. They're immune.
If I can ask you something, what I hear in naturopathic school is some professors saying that it happened many times that the Gov did some possible change, but it didn't happen. But I do remember that in 2023, you said on Lux Media that they never went so far. For these professors, it is just fear. It is just some rules that they want to apply, but they won't really do it. But I must explain to them that the law passed. It's just that it was not applied as you said before.
Oh,
But
the law would have passed a long time ago. And let's talk about how we're all trapped in this allopathic model. So, and this happened, you know, like in the 1920s and 30s. So we used to have a whole bunch of healing traditions. So in North America, we had homeopathic hospitals. You know, I remember listening to a CBC documentary, and in the 1918 flu, according to this CBC documentary, if you got sick enough that you had to go to a hospital, if you went to an allopathic hospital, so that's our mainstream medical system now, if you went to an allopathic hospital, you had an 80% chance of dying. If you went to a homeopathic hospital, you had an 80% chance of living. But we got rid of the homeopathic hospitals. We got rid of all of our other healing traditions, naturopathic doctors, traditional Chinese practitioners. I'm 60. I don't think I even heard of a naturopathic doctor or a homeopathic doctor in my 30s. They're just coming back now. They had been totally squashed. And every single province participated in this. They all passed laws giving doctors a medical monopoly. So I haven't looked into it, but I bet you this Quebec law is probably 80, 90 years old. So, you know, but let's talk about the allopathic model. So the allopathic model, it's a philosophy of medicine. And what the philosophy is, oh, you're suffering. Well, we are not going to treat the reason why you're suffering. We're not going to treat the actual illness. We're not going to restore you to health. No, don't you dare do that. What we're going to do is we're going to treat the symptoms. So we're going to try and alleviate the symptoms of your suffering. This is the allopathic philosophy. It's a tradition in healing. So I just have to say this again because it's so important, because in our universal government healthcare, the governments have adopted the allopathic model. So the allopathic model is you're suffering, you have an illness, you have something that needs to be solved. No, the allopathic model does not treat the underlying illness. It deliberately doesn't, because their philosophy is no, let's not do that. Let's address the symptoms of your illness, which is why if we all know if we engage the universal government funded healthcare system, that by and large, I mean, I get there's the odd exception, but by and large, they don't actually cure the illness. They treat the symptoms with chemical synthetic drugs, which are the third leading cause of death. Now, not in a million years would the Canadian public agree, well, let's adopt the allopathic model for our universal healthcare. Not in a million years would we do that. We would say, no way, let's adopt treatment models that don't treat our symptoms, but actually make us well. That, oh, well, why are you sick? Well, let's address that. Let's solve the underlying illness. We would never consent. We would never, ever consent to adopting an allopathic model for our healthcare. It's madness. You know, what we're learning in this health show is really there's only three. Almost all of our illnesses are caused by three things. The government that's in control of our food supply has made our food so toxic that if you know, there's so many chemicals in our food that, you know, the question has to be asked, could our food supply be any more toxic without the public rebelling? Like literally, could our food supply be any more toxic without the public rebelling? And likely the answer is no. Everyone watching this, for example, if we tested you, you have glyphosate. Even if you're eating organic, eating raw, trying to eat as low down the food chain as possible, you've got glyphosate in you. Just to name one. I mean, the list would be long of toxins that we would expect to find in you. And a leading cause of illness in Canada are the chemicals, the toxic load that has been deliberately put into our food supply. And I say deliberately because if any one of us was managing the food supply, we'd make sure that they weren't there. It's not hard to avoid these chemicals and toxins, but our regulatory bodies allow them. And if you believe it's by accident, then, I mean, maybe that's worse. I don't know. Is it deliberate? Is it by accident? If it's by accident, like, my gosh, we have to take responsibility for ourselves in any event. The second, probably the leading cause of our chronic illness is malnutrition. We've learned in this health show that you cannot get the nutrients you need to be healthy from our food. You know, we had Udo Erasmus as a speaker at our Vancouver event, and he's the person that, you know, is basically the world leader on essential oils. And he was the first one to explain to us dangerous fats with these processed oils and that. And he was sharing with us, you know, there's this long list of essential nutrients. And essential means if you're missing any single one of them, you will die. And before that happens, you'll become chronically sick. The US Department of Agriculture regularly surveys our food supply for vitamins and minerals. They've been doing it for 100 years. And they've documented how just it's steadily gone down. Now, this is under the government's watch. The government could say, no, let's start publishing the nutrients in our food, and then we would demand that we fertilize differently, that we farm differently, that we not have glyphosate that actually leaches the vitamins or the minerals from us, let alone cause other problems. But the US Department of Agriculture, I think it was in their 1949 report, they were sounding the alarm, and they're saying, well, if you're missing this nutrient and this nutrient and this nutrient, here's the chronic illness you get. And if you're missing this nutrient and this nutrient and this nutrient, here's the chronic illness you get. So, but back to the allopathic model. So remember, the allopathic model, don't you dare treat illness. Don't solve the problem, treat the symptoms. Well, our medical doctors are not trained in nutrition. The leading cause of our illness is nutrition. But if you go to the medical doctors, they don't even know what the symptoms of malnutrition are. You know, one of the speakers in her health show, it's a young mom, and she's got 2 little kids, and she gets restless leg syndrome. So when she goes to bed at night, she describes it as electric shocks in her leg, and then her muscles twitch. So the only way to stop it is by walking. So she's walking all night long, and she's getting weak, and she's getting depressed. She's lost the ability to care for her children. She's in complete chaos. The family's in complete chaos. And the medical doctor says, well, there isn't a treatment for restless legs, so let me put you on a Parkinson's drug. Oh, so she looks into the side effects of that, and it's like, this is going to destroy my life. She goes to a naturopathic doctor who puts her on magnesium, and it's solved. Like, in the natural health community, obviously you got muscle twitches, likely it's a magnesium deficiency, and if it's not that, we'll solve it anyway. We'll solve it. Well, why didn't the medical doctor know that? How many young moms are on Parkinson's drugs? Because they don't have the proper nutrition. You know, if I can share another story just to drive home how insane our government system is. You know, Karen Peters, she testifies at Grand Prairie, or shares at Grand Prairie. And she got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. She's suffering terribly with rheumatoid arthritis. And her medical doctor says to her, well, I can't cure this. Well, of course he can't. He's an allopathic doctor. He's not trained to cure rheumatoid arthritis. He's trained to treat the symptoms. So he tells her, this is a terminal illness. You're going to have it for the rest of your life. We will try and slow the symptoms with chemical drugs, but you will end up in a wheelchair and you will die from this. So he prescribes to her 2 drugs. One of them is methotrexate, which is a chemotherapy drug. And I've learned since then, it's common in Canada, which this is just criminal. It's common in Canada to be prescribing chemotherapy drugs for people who have rheumatoid arthritis. And like, we all fear chemotherapy. I mean, my gosh, but if you're diagnosed with cancer, they're going to put you on it for 3 or 6 months, not the rest of your life. You should be praying that you don't get rheumatoid arthritis and you're stuck in the medical system. So for a full year, she's injecting herself with a chemotherapy drug. She shares with us, it made her want to die. She was so nauseous and sick. And she's still suffering with the rheumatoid arthritis, can hardly walk. And this is her fate. She's facing now a wheelchair and death and a life of living hell where she wants to die because she's on chemotherapy for the rest of her life. And somebody says, well, go see a naturopathic doctor. Well, no, they're not trained. I can't go to a naturopathic doctor. It's the medical doctors that know the science, which is a joke. So, but she finds a naturopathic doctor that was a medical doctor first, and that gave him credibility. So she goes to this naturopathic doctor, and the first thing she says to the naturopathic doctor is, I have an incurable illness. And the first thing the naturopathic doctor says to her is, there are no incurable illnesses. And then he cured her with nutrition and some natural health products. So she's no longer on any drugs. She's no longer suffering from rheumatoid arthritis. She's no longer, and the doctor said, this chemotherapy drug will 100% give you cancer. She's no longer facing a wheelchair. She's no longer facing a life of suffering and death. And how many of us, because the naturopathic or the medical doctors are not trained, they're deliberately not trained to treat our illnesses. So they're not trained in nutrition. I interviewed 3 medical doctors for the health show. Well, how much training in nutrition did you get in medical school? Oh, 2 hours, half a day. The leading cause of our illness is malnutrition. They're not trained to address the leading cause of our illness. So
you don't need to convince me, because you don't. I'm sorry, you don't really know me, but I was in the same situation than this person. At the end of my illness, I was in my bed 50% of my time because I had the fibromyalgia for 9 years, and I had because I don't have anymore. Probably I had EBV, the Epstein-Barr virus, and I was taking, before I started in natural health product classes, I was taking about 8 narcotics per day. My life was a nightmare. I was continuing my school in a master class, but it was really difficult. I was in the MBA, and I had to leave everything when I started the PhD because my illness was too much strong. And I saw 15 specialists, allopathic specialists. They did not much. At the end, they were giving me infiltration of Botox, injection of Botox. It was not helping. So I said, okay, I would just go by myself to learn what to do when the body doesn't work and how to make it work again. And I started just a class of 3 hours, and I got hooked in the project because now I am on my 4th year in naturopath program. I do work in a clinic to see what they can do. And I can say to the viewer that we are very late in Canada when we look at what functional medicine in USA are doing. Because it is allopathic doctor who decided to put their ego on the side and just bring all together the best of the alternative medicine that we can have to combine the both world. And I see that with your chart, we have hope. We can have hope. We have been locked in this allopathic framework, but now you will suggest you worked on a new legal framework for all of us. Never in the chart it was embedded something about a chart of health like you want to propose, you are proposing, and it will be new, and that will give a real freedom to us, a freedom to choose for our own health, and also sovereignty. So can we talk about this chart? Because I think it's very important that people get to know what it is.
Okay, so first of all, the Charter of Health Freedom has its own website. So I'm with the NHPPA, which just stands for, I know it's a mouthful, but just Natural Health Product, that's what they're called. So Natural Health Product Protection Association. So just nhppa.org. Please follow us. So subscribe to our newsletter because we enable you to take action. So right now we've got an e-letter. It's very easy. You just put in your name and your postal address. It pulls up your MP, and you can send an e-letter to your MP saying, I want you to pass this health charter. We were just talking about this therapeutic product category. Well, there's a private members bill in Parliament right now, 224. We're going to need you to help support it to get us back to the way we were before the 2023 budget. But the Charter of Health Freedom, just Google Charter of Health Freedom. It has its own website. You can get a copy. We've got it in English, French, and Mandarin. And I'll share with you what it does. So it's a way to solve this. Now, we're all part in the criminal law system, and our food and drug law is an exercise of the federal government's criminal law system. But in both our criminal and civil rights, and I appreciate that Quebec has a different civil law system, but you still have the benefits of the common law. So, William the Conqueror in 1066 conquered England, and for almost 1,000 years now, the courts the state interacting with the citizen, said, here are the bare minimum health rights that the citizen has. The state cannot go beyond this. The state can't pass laws violating them. The state actions can't violate them. And they're simple, like, everyone's got the right to choose how they're going to treat themselves when they're sick. Like they're just basic ones that our common law, the courts say we have. But the federal government has been ignoring them. So we thought, well, let's just set out the laws the courts say that we have as our bare minimum health rights that cannot be violated. And let's set them out clearly. And let's just state in a law, the federal laws can't violate this. These are paramount, and federal actions can't violate these. Now, the Charter also creates some legal presumptions. So one of the legal presumptions is that the best source of information as to whether a treatment works for you is you, because the only legal treatments are chemical synthetic drugs. That's why if you engage the universal healthcare system, you're going to be offered surgery or chemical drugs. I get there's the odd exception, but the rule is that's the way our world works right now, all by design. Well, what if the chemical drugs don't work for you? I mean, you shared they don't work for you, and we've got person after person in the health show. They didn't work, and you've come to rely then on a natural remedy. Well, that's illegal. It's illegal for you to treat serious health conditions with natural remedies in Canada because they're not approved, because Health Canada won't approve them. So let's say Health Canada's taking the product you rely on for your health away, and you go to court. Well, then the Department of Justice hires experts to say, we have this condition. There are these approved treatments. Here's all the research they work. The product you're taking isn't approved. It's snake oil. It doesn't work. And you need to go see a psychiatrist because it's all in your head that you think it works. And you can actually lose in court. And so we thought that type of thing's nonsense. That's why we've created some legal presumptions. The Health Charter also takes the regulation of these products away from Health Canada. Now, remember, most of our natural health products are just essential nutrients. We now have to take vitamins and minerals, but please get advice from somebody who knows. Who can evaluate your situation to share with you what you should be taking. But to be healthy now, to be healthy in Canada, you have to take vitamins and minerals. You have to supplement. Well, that's most of our natural health products. We shouldn't have to fight Health Canada. We shouldn't have to be in a war with Health Canada to access vital nutrients that we need to thrive and be healthy. So we've taken the regulation away from them and created a legal duty to protect and promote our access. So there's a new Ministry of Wellness whose legal duty is to protect and promote our access to vital nutrients and natural remedies. And then we also create what's called the Health Freedom Ombudsman. Remember, I shared with you that court case where Health Canada restricted a natural health product and there were a number of deaths. Well, what do you do if Health Canada is putting your life in danger, or any government agency is putting your life in danger? There has to be somebody you can go to basically say, listen, this minor regulatory violation does not take precedence over my health or my life. And so that's what the Charter does. It's meant to basically guarantee that we can have access to vital nutrients, that we have the continued right to choose how we're going to treat ourselves, because Health Canada is trying to take them away. So we don't have the right to choose to treat ourselves if the only option is the allopathic model with chemical drugs. So that's what the Charter is.
And do you have an idea when that could take place?
Okay, so we are, we've we're driving across Canada, and other groups are driving across Canada. As you're aware, a group started in Quebec City, and they've got an event in Montreal. And then we're also trying to bring awareness in Quebec. So this World's Greatest Health Show, it's broadcasting in French on October 22nd, and which is today, and October 24th. So, but they will be reposted. The full days will be reposted at nhppa.org. And we want people to watch, because then they'll come to understand, wait a second, I have to support this. I have to get involved. I have to support natural practitioners. I have to support my health food stores. I have to support this Charter of Health Freedom. So we're presenting, we've been collecting petitions to support the Charter of Health Freedom. And we have, I think, like 153,000. We have a mail strike, so we actually don't know how many we have, because, you know, but at least 153,000, which the Clerk of Petitions told us some years ago makes us the third largest paper petition going to Parliament in history. So, so we're presenting it on Parliament Hill on October 25th, and that's the beginning. So that's when we deliver it, and we give the petitions to an MP to be submitted into Parliament. But now we need to then put pressure on the MPs, on the government, to have it passed, and basically try to shame them into having it passed, because this is just common sense. And we all have to realize what we're doing. Our health policy's gotten away on us. We shouldn't be in an allopathic model, and we shouldn't be limiting our treatments to synthetic chemical drugs, which are highly dangerous and frankly ineffective. Like, I mean, the whole thing is not what Canadians would agree to. Our universal healthcare system, we'd get so much better outcomes if we just asked, how do we get the best health outcomes? And that would be adopting other treatment modalities like naturopathic medicine and homeopathic medicine and traditional Chinese practitioners, and not limiting ourselves to chemical pharmaceutical drugs.
Do you have any political party supporting you right now?
Well, no. So first of all, we're not political. The NHPPA isn't political, and so we've resisted conservative government actions. That Bill C-51. We've resisted liberal government actions. It seems that it doesn't matter which party is in power, that Health Canada's agenda keeps marching along. So, I don't know if it's just that ministry is too powerful for a party to resist. I don't know if we truly are a pan-national state, as our last prime minister said, hey, we're a pan-national state, meaning that important policies like health are being dictated from organizations outside of Canada. I mean, this is what he said. I don't know. I don't know if it's just, you know, we've got, if you read our Constitution, which we're deliberately, we don't read. You'd think we all go through public school for 12 years. Many of us go to college and university. The most important document governing your life is our Constitution, and none of us have read it. Now, this is by design, because, you know, the myths that we're a democracy, the myths that we have representative government would be dispelled if you read our Constitution. So the King is our executive under our Constitution. And under our Constitution, the King has established what's called the Privy Council Office to advise him in areas of executive power. And so we've got this big cabinet committee structure. And I'm told from, you know, a person that I'm reasonably close to who used to be in the Privy Council Office, that it's very difficult for any government to actually set policy with these cabinet committee structures run by the Privy Council Office. So it could be that the government can't change the policy set by this cabinet committee structure. I don't know what the answer is, Carolyn. I just know it doesn't matter what party's in power. We seem to be the same trajectory, except I can say the Conservative Party is way easier to deal with when they're in power, and they seem to force Health Canada to be much more reasonable when they're in power. So it, you know, I can share that that's my experience, that, you know, we have more success and Health Canada is more reasonable under a Conservative government, but the trajectory is still the same. It was a Conservative government that introduced Bill C-51, this therapeutic product category, but then a Liberal government that had it passed, right? So yeah, so it's we need as many people as possible, especially in Quebec, because people in Quebec may not understand that they have more political power than any other province in Ottawa.
Because that is not clear for us. I have to tell you.
But no, the rest of Canada, though, I'm just telling you, no government is formed federally without support of Quebec. And that's a fact. So you have more clout than anyone else. And if you can organize and make it clear to all of your MPs, regardless of the party they're in, that you are demanding that the government protect and promote your access to essential nutrients and just stop this nonsense with natural health products, we need you. We need you or we can't win. So, you know, in my mind, Quebec is the most important province in Canada for ensuring that we get health freedom. So I'm just so excited that, you know, you've got me on this. I'm so excited that, you know, we're broadcasting the health show in French, you know, on October 22nd and 25th. And again, it'll be online afterwards. So I'm just so thankful that, you know, Quebec is starting to become aware of what's going on so that they can support it.
I spoke to people who are specialized in politics and health, and they said that because we are in under the Napoleonic Code, the common law doesn't apply to us, but you said the opposite just earlier. So I think it's something that we don't really know.
The basic health rights that the courts have said over time that we have applied to all of Canada. Like I get for your civil law, you're under the code. But our food and drug regulation that we're talking about with the health charter, that's federal government. So that's the exercise of the federal government's criminal law power. That's what our Food and Drug Act, it's a criminal law that they pass pursuant to Section 91 of the British North America Act. Like our Constitution is just a series of British statutes. So we don't actually, so the British Parliament could repeal our entire Constitution and change it. If we, you know, like, so I just have to say that again, because most people don't realize our Constitution is a series of British statutes. So we really are still a colony. The king is our king. The king is our executive. The king can veto any of our federal laws. The king can have the UK Parliament change our Constitution. So we are a colony. We've never declared, why does the king own all of our land? So you think you have your mortgage paid off, you own your house? No, you have what's called the fee simple. So the king owns your land and the king can take your land, but the king has granted you a fee, which is just a right without restrictions, so fee simple, so that you can have quiet occupancy on your land at the suffrage of the king. It's outrageous. We're a colony. Why do we have a king in 2025? Why don't we have a democracy where we actually have a voice and can vote on important issues? Why don't we have representative government? I mean, we pretend we elect MPs from specific regions. So, oh, I have an MP. But the MP will never, ever vote according to what the people in the MP's riding want, because we have the party whip system. So MPs almost 100% of the time must vote according to what the party says. In fact, we make a big deal. Oh, if they're ever allowed to vote the way they want to vote, then we call it a free vote. Well, when's the last time we've had a free vote? I don't even remember. Has it happened maybe once in my lifetime, maybe twice? But we pretend that we have, you know, local, regional representation. Well, that's a lie too. But we have these myths. We have no say at all, no meaningful say at all. I mean, the MPs know the Canadians want Health Canada to back off and have nothing to do with natural health products. They know it. Like even through the NHPPA in the last 20 months, there's been like 3.1 million communications with MPs, mostly paper communications that we can track. MPs have sent us pictures of their closets filling up with our postcards, and yet they haven't done anything. Like there's only 338 of them last Parliament. Now there's 340. Like they know, but they're not protecting us. So what's going on?
I must say that at Lux Media, we often have political specialists talking about what you just raised, the fact that the at the government, the chamber of power are not divided. They are all linked together, and we don't really vote when we think that we vote for the prime minister. It is all fake.
Oh, it's all fake. It's all fake. Our whole system is fake, and we have no power, and we have no meaningful say, and we have no rights, because rights are things that can't be taken away. So we have privileges, which, you know, we're told are rights so that we don't rebel and demand actual rights.
Yeah. I thank you very much for today. I invite everybody to go and see you on Saturday in Ottawa. I think it is an historic moment that we will live all together, seeing you bring this new chart that is really nice. You have worked a lot. You need the support of all Quebec people. It is really important to be at this present moment at the meeting in Ottawa. I thank you very much, and I thank you, your wife as well, Teresa.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and keep up the good work.